decide to escalate your claim to a lawsuit. And the reason they're doing it now is not because we work its way through the system. There is no system. They're doing it now because the time is right. U.S. Sugar and King Ranch got rid of Great Judah on the and put in their own people, Kaiser and Hannah. So they've got 2 of the 5 votes already. Mann and Manning are generally on our side. Cecil Pentecost is a swing vote that seems to be swinging in the wrong direction at the moment. I don't want to give up on the county commission. If we could convince Cecil to go the other direction, we could actually win on the county commission. So I'm being real nice to him, and maybe we ought to do. I'm not bothered to be nice to Kaiser and Hannah. They're hopeless. We're not going to get them. But be nice to Mann and Manning too. Don't take their votes for granted. We still need them. Now, I want to do some caveats here today before we start too. I have never alleged that the county commission or the county attorney is doing anything illegal. This is a political issue. It's not a corruption case. Yes, I know King Ranch put 2 people on the county commission and spent $750,000 or so doing that. That's not illegal. Unfortunately, this is Florida. Lots of things are legal in Florida that shouldn't be, but that's Florida for you. And King Ranch is under the table and trying to change the plan and all that. That's legal too. Anybody can talk to the county attorney and county staff and do things like that. And some people say we're declaring war out here. That's not the way I see it. I don't see this as a war. What I see this as is a very aggressive effort to get ourselves prepared. They come out with something that's probably not going to be very good. Erase that problem. It's not going to be good. And we got to be prepared to deal with it when it comes. They say it's going to come in early June now. Believe it, I see it. Whatever it's going to be, it's probably going to be unfortunate. And the purpose of this organization is to get ready for that. And deal with it when it comes, they're going to find an organization that's not only organized, but doing its research and ready to deal with the problem. That's what we're here for. At the same time, our job is to spend time on that, but at the same time, I feel a little remorse for the predicament that the county attorney finds themselves in. A lot of people take the pessimistic view of the legal landscape in regard to land planning and environmental judgment. And they say that between the Coons case, and the Burt Harris cases, and the recent legalization of the federal claims cases, that the landowners can basically do what they want to. Under that view, land planning is dead. Environmental protection is dead as far as regulatory procedures go. And the landowners under that view are free to raise and fund their county and city coffers and bankrupt the entire state. Now there's a more optimistic view, which I am representing, that these cases can be defended. I don't get a lot of support from that. I get no support from that from the county attorney's office, nor from many other places. The Tampa attorney they hired was certainly of the pessimistic view. So we're the optimists, they're the pessimists, and let's hope that we can only hope that our kind of view prevails. But the legal literature is depressing, to say the least. And I feel a little sorry for the county attorney who caught in the middle here. It's not of his making. But I do wish he would be a little more optimistic and a little more aggressive in defending these cases and not just give up and go it down. Are we ready to do the agenda? First, need some officers. We have several volunteers. Renee Pollock is our registrar. She registers for members. She's been around sign-up sheet. Here in a little bit, I'm going to ask you whether you want your name on the sign-up sheet. Your name won't be a member of the
Put me in as treasurer.
county form anyway. The Roger has agreed to the co-chair of the committee. His job will be with the Greater Carolina Civic Association, which is the sponsor of this operation. Andrea Hendrickson is going to take notes at our meeting. She's going to be our scribe. She ran into she's still not here, right? She ran into an emergency just when she was ready to come down here. So you take notes. I'm Carol Green is our project boss. Where's your list? And Claudia Brindle has agreed to be our director of research. Jim Hines has agreed to be our webmaster. Jim, you here? That's not bad for an organization that legally won't even exist until we complete this meeting tonight. We need an exchequer that is a treasurer. We're giving everybody fancy names. I like it better. You call it treasurer, I'll call it exchequer. We need a volunteer for that. Susan Clark, you volunteer for that? Excellent. Renee is the one that has to keep track of all that stuff, so I don't have to. But these are the people that have already volunteered to take these jobs. In addition, honorary chairman, Bill Wiskowski. Bill's the guy who actually wrote the 5-hour plan. I was at his elbow, and others were at his other elbow, but he's the one who actually wrote. That's his job. He writes proposals for planning. He's the only planning person I know who owns his own firm, planning, Wiskowski and Associates, but he will not represent development, which is what most planners do. He only represents government entities. And he's currently working all over the United States. He's traveling constantly. He's got a bunch of clients down in Texas. He just recently wrote the Estero downtown, whatever they call it, plant, for their new government there. He probably won't be attending any of these meetings, but he's out of the chairman anyway, because he's our guy. And I talk to him all the time. He's our guy. We can have other honorary chairmen if we need to. I hit out the idea that if some government official wants to work with us and help us, we'll make him honorary chairman. Kathy Malone told me good luck finding one of those. If we're successful, we'll do well. Are there any other nominations from the floor on any of these officers? All right, I'll ask for a vote to approve the nominees. Vote for whom? Any against? Ford 125 or whatever it is.
Who are they?
And we have you see from the agenda, we have two groups of people who actually do the work. The first ones are liaisons. These are people who work with other organizations on or off the island to help us in this task. We have one so far, Sherry Perkins, who's already been selected by the St. James City Civic Association to represent that organization. Everything else at this point is open, although I've had a lot of people ask me, tell me they wanted to do it, and I just told them to wait until the night to bring it up because I couldn't keep track of all of it. So let's now ask for volunteers or ideas on liaisons to whatever organization. Liaison
to the government. Is that what you're talking about? To the government officials in the county.
Oh, the county. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Liaison to Lee County. Okay. Everybody to get in office has to go see Renee later on and give her your name and the title that you agreed to accept. And your telephone number, I don't know whether you need an address or not. Whatever she asked for.
I just wanted to clarify here, Bill. For example, where you're looking for liaisons to the HOAs, are you looking for people to go into the individual communities that are on the island to basically help them understand what it is that we are representing here? So, for example, you would want somebody to go out to Cherry Estates or to Island Cove. Is that what you're looking for when you talk about the HOA?
I don't think they need to go door to door, but when the HOA has a meeting, attend the meeting and tell them what's going on there. That's really what I had in mind.
So we really need to identify all the different communities which are on the island and appoint somebody who would attend their association meetings. That is what you're looking for.
We don't need all of them, but some of these things are really big. And it's an opportunity to educate the people there and ask for their support for our efforts. The Cherry Estates Civic Association is homeowners, wherever they're not. There's much more than 50 houses, so it'd be worth attending their meeting and doing it.
Well, I'd be willing to volunteer for any number of the HOAs to spread the word about what this organization
Which
is
one
about.
do you want to go to?
Any number that you want to assign. I mean, I think there are a lot on the island.
We may get volunteers from the HOAs themselves, the presidents of the HOA will do the liaison or something like that. But let's make you liaison to HOAs and that goes back. That's Elizabeth Washburn. But give her your name and address. And your title will be liaison to HOA. Whatever HOAs you choose. But if we get the civic HOAs, you don't need to cover them because we have voluntary rotary. Any other nominations for liaison?
Ruth Scott, she's Sierra Conservation Chair. She can make it tonight, but she'll gladly be the Sierra Club liaison with the local Carusa group and also with the state Sierra Club.
What was the name?
Her name is Ruth Scott.
Bruce Scott?
Ruth Scott, R-U-T-H. So she could
Spell
be
it, spell the last name.
S-C-A-T-T.
Yeah, Bruce Scott is here.
Ruth, no, she's not here.
Bruce, R-U-T-H?
Yes. And I will, if you'll have me, I'll volunteer to be liaison for River Watershed Council.
Okay. This is Mary Rawls. She's going to be the liaison for River Watch and Watershed Council. And Ruth Scott will be liaison for
Sierra.
Sierra Club.
Go to the local chapter and the state chapter.
Thank you, Mary.
Those kind of people will be extremely important. Talk louder. Back there.
Is Barbara Kovitz here? She might not be here, but I'd like to nominate her to be the liaison at Pineapple Cove.
Pineapple Cove, that's Barbara who?
Barbara Kovitz.
Spell that.
C-O-V-I-T-Z. She's not here to turn it down, so does that mean she's...
That's a knock day, stop by the table and register. What else we got? Over here?
All right, I'm Marilyn Moore, and I have been and will continue to be the liaison to the Flamingo Bay Residents Association. Marilyn Moore.
Marilyn Moore, yeah. Stop by the table and register. Where did you do it? Pineapple Village, okay. Sonny, stop by, do the name.
Thank you, Sunny.
What else?
St. Jude. St. Jude Harbor.
St. Jude Harbor. This is Mark Kevin. You stop by the table. Who else do we need them for? Is anybody here active with I-1? The migratory bird issue is kind of a big one. I mean, Pine Island, a lot of migratory birds come to Pine Island. It's something we need a little fix on. By the way, the produce job is to write a paper. If I paper on Linux job, if you find something useful like migratory birds, I'll be rewriting Pine Island plans for today. Did anybody say they were active in Audubon? No? All right, well, that's fine. You want to get active.
Audubon?
You want to do the liaison to Audubon. Call them up.
I'll do that.
Okay.
That and Sierra Club.
Say again?
I said I'll do Audubon and Sierra Club.
Did we already get you together?
That's fine.
All right. You do Audubon, and what's your name, sir?
Gary Pierce.
Greg Pierce?
Gary.
Talk about it. Who else? Which ones do we really need?
Bill,
And the church.
Sir.
Scott Wilkinson, I'm a member of the Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program. Are there any clubs or nonprofits that could benefit from having a liaison with us?
So what about Boat Marine? They're on the island.
How about who?
Boat Marine.
Boat Marine? Sure. Who's going to take that? This lady's going to take the job. What's your name? Marco? Stop by the table. Let's not use up all the good volunteers for today's item, so we got some serious work to do in the project. Are there any other liaisons before we leave?
Jane Watson, we're members of both the Pine Island Boat Club and the St. James City Boat Club.
All right. And then your name again?
Jane Watson.
Jane Watson. Got that? Stop by the table. Ready to speak?
That's another idea. I'm not volunteering for this because I'm the treasurer, but I think we should have a liaison for maybe Fox News and the other news. Get involved out here to do a public interest story.
Well, at least call them up and tell them when we have a meeting. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to be a media liaison?
Fill out how do that. We need to write up a paper and educate them and get them out here.
At least tell them about our meeting. Let's move on to research projects, because that's where all the really real work needs to be done. The only research project that has already been, I don't remember whether we voted on it or not. No, we didn't. But Carol Green's already working on the cost of the new bridge. If they build a new bridge, it'll probably down at master planning, and it'll cost, one person said $100 million, but personally I think it's 3 or 4 times that. They paid $137 million just to renovate the Sandville Bridge, which is a lot shorter. They're already there, they've already got all the approaches and all that sort of stuff. So to go from scratch. And the bridge wouldn't just be over the water, it would have to go over mangroves too. So that would be one heck of a long bridge. But we need to be prepared with some kind of estimate of what it costs, and Carol Green has already volunteered to do that.
Where is this facility?
You know where the cow pasture is? It's at the south end of the cow pasture, there's a road that goes back behind the power plant. At the end of that road is that. There's one time that was yeah, that's where the power line goes.
Wasn't they trying to develop that?
Sorry?
I said, wasn't they trying to develop that?
Yeah, the 32 acres out front, Bob Lennon got turned down for a development work. It was a test case. He could get it to go to court. I don't know how it would be a better case. I think it is.
Good talk there, great fishing.
Now we need ideas. Let's just go down some of these things that we already have on the agenda here. And then we need ideas for other projects. It's almost endless, the kind of things we need to research. But evacuation capability Tim, that did go on the website. Yeah, the factor. If you look on the PineIslandPlan.com website, maintained by Tim, you will see the county's estimates of evacuation times from Pine Island of 10.5 up to 10.5 acres. But that only gets you to the mainland. It doesn't get you out of the water. It goes on for what was the total to evacuate all of Lee County was 81 hours, 3 days. 3 days. Hurricane doesn't give you 3 days notice. So we need to be prepared for that. Make sure we at least have the right documents, put them on the website. Who wants to Are you volunteering, Claudia? Okay. Claudia, evacuation capability. Valuation of development rights. That's really important. The county attorney's office said he agreed with the plaintiffs that the value of development rights on Pine Island is $20,000 an acre. We're talking about those rural now. You could buy rural woodlands on Pine Island for $15,000 an acre. So how in the world can the development rights would be worth more than the entire property? So that doesn't make any sense. So we need somebody who comes up with a more reasonable estimate of valuation of development rights. Who would like to work on that? You do a lot of internet research on development rights. You try to find some cases where development rights have been sold. It's not an easy task, and I'm not sure, other than the internet, where you would actually do your research. But it's worth giving a shot. If you don't come up with anything, okay, at least try.
I'll volunteer.
Okay. Elizabeth Watson, valuation of development rights. And talk to me. I have some ideas along those lines. I actually did one time here on Pine Island, and the general rule is that development rights are about 50% of the value of the property. But it can differ depending on the property. Some properties aren't developable at all, or there's so many obstacles there already that it wouldn't be teachable to spend the money to get rid of those obstacles and develop it. It wouldn't be marketable. So, I mean, there's every kind of situation, but the general rule is 50% of the market value of the entire property, adjusted for whatever conditions are on that property. PDR, TDR possibilities, purchase of development rights is another idea. Cecil Pendergrass actually pushed that idea, he brought it up at the workshop when they were discussing the Pine Island Plan division. The idea being that the county would just go in and buy development rights to these properties, thus ending litigation. You're talking an awful lot of money. Somebody needs to figure out that much money. Once you get the valuation of development rights, we can multiply it by the coastal rural acreage and come up with the total cost. He actually considers assigning that job to the 2020 program. So instead of spending money buying property, property that is $20 an hour, I can see all kinds of dollars. I like the 2020 program too. So I don't know about that one. It's okay to think out loud. Anybody want to look into PDR? TDR, transfer of development rights. We have that on the island already and off the island. On the island, a landowner can move his development rights from one of his properties to another property when they develop it. He can develop property A, take the development rights density, units per acre, houses number built, and move it over to the development that he's building, and extinguish the development rights on the second property. You can do that without having any approval by the right. We gave them that when we wrote the Pine Island Plan, which was kind of a concession. It seemed like a good idea. And we ended up with the reserve property. Property B, when they take the development rights would end up basically the nature reserve. So
It seems to me that
seemed like a good idea.
it seems that this one goes hand in hand with evaluation of development rights.
You want to do
Would
that?
that be too much to put under one umbrella to deal with?
Now, actually, I could just, you know, put them together, and I can give you probably everything we know about PPR and PPR.
Okay, well, I'll
And
put that on the same
the write a paper on valuation of development rights, and I can add what I tell you about the other stuff. So, Elizabeth Bush will do those, valuation of development rights plus PDR, TDR. Now, the last time we went through this exercise, 3 or 4 meetings through Matt Lachey was one of the remedies pushed by the county attorney's office. And we did a survey down in Matt Lachey to see what it would take to do that. And we found out that 72% of the building along the road would have to be torn down or moved. Do a road through it. I doubt if anything serious has changed. It's probably still the same, but somebody needs to take a look. Go down there and kind of count off the feet, do the percentages, and see if anything has changed, and write a little paper saying whether it has or it's not.
Can I ask a basic question? I've always been under the assumption that's that historic district. Am I wrong?
No, not all of it, but some of it's historic. The part, well, I guess it's, most of the western part is historic. And a lot of it. Yeah, that would be an impediment to doing 4 lanes through there. But it's not a total impediment that would push it on that. But I'm not saying this is a real possibility, but it may well come up and it needs to be rectification. Yes, sir.
Bill, this is maybe a down the line question, and maybe the 3 or 4 lane through Matt Lachey isn't the one to talk about it, but it looks like there's a lot of sub areas that may be helpful at some point in the future to consider having, I guess, an infrastructure, a global infrastructure committee, and then different segments going into that.
That would be an awful big thing.
Well, it's a global kind of thing. So that's going to eventually have to be pulled together in that kind of framework. That's down the line.
I'm not really sure what you're driving at, but if you want to volunteer to take a drive.
We've got sewage capacity and electrical. We've got a lot of things that are bricks and mortar kinds of things.
Yeah, and somebody needs to do each one. I'm not sure we all lump them all together. But I mean, it's just some of this that lump them together. Let's divide it into little smaller pieces of that. So, a lot of people don't do that. Yes, ma'am.
This is correction, Bill, they're thinking about building a master's landing. Has anybody looked into the crime wave that would bring to this island? And right now, the reason why it's not as bad as it is because of the access, they can't get out.
You'd like to lunch on
No,
that?
I don't want to. It'll be a big circle and they can get away. That's what I'm saying, against the bridge stuff.
Oh, undoubtedly, the crime rate is low. Whether it's, I don't know that we need a paper on that subject, but if you want to write one,
well, it's an interest to me in my business, you know. It's scary to me, because the only reason why I have the type of business I have is because I feel safe out here. A convenience store is something dangerous to have in the city.
Well, if somebody wants to write a paper along those lines, let's do it. Are you volunteering?
No, I can't volunteer for that. Whoever was going to write about the bridge, the area that you're talking about, they need to bring it up about the sawfish. And that's a big thing.
It's federal.
Bringing the federal government.
Well, there's a lot of environmental impediments to doing some of these things. There's even much better places.
Who wants to, what kind of traffic study would you have done?
Well, actually, that whole issue was already discussed in the finite plan, so I'm assuming we're going to kind of update that
Yeah, that's the
information in the plan, basically.
You talk about 3 or 4 lane map share.
Yeah.
That would be the idea. I mean, when somebody looked at, if we told them, you know, you had to move 72% of the building, then we told them that as 15 years old. Bring it up to 2015. You want to do it?
Yes.
Okay. And your name is?
Jim.
All right. Well, back to the software.
Now, can I ask one question about the traffic? I recently noticed that there's somebody counting again in that machine. Is that county or is that somebody private?
They have sensors in the asphalt that keep constant count. Probably the people you saw are the people setting up the crosswalk.
They have
Oh, yeah, I saw
the
those.
road.
Yeah, the ones that are underneath the asphalt are trying to change the hook.
They're not under the asphalt.
I don't know what that's about. The counts in the past were a little deficient, and maybe they're fixing that. Because the sensor was underneath the asphalt in front of Sandy Hook, the counts did not include Napa-Shade people going to Cape Coral. So that's a big deficit. That's right. That rubber thing over there, again, maybe designed to fix that. So, I mean, the count there would be much bigger than this in front of Sandy Hook.
They're counting at the east end and at the west end.
On the east end, one of the tubes is missing. Like there's just 3 tubes going across on the east end. On the west end, there's 4 tubes going across. It's been that way for a while. I was wondering whether anyone knew whether there was a problem, that it wasn't working properly.
I do not know. I can tell you, I have been down to the county traffic, county transportation building. They have a little television-like device there. You can switch to any sensor in Lee County and just see the cars go past. They can tell you whether it's a truck, they can tell you whether it's towing a trailer. It's an incredible sort of thing, and all that data goes into the computer, and you plug it back out, and come up with all that thing.
I'll do some research on the traffic counts.
What about the traffic?
You know, like you said, you think they're in the asphalt. I will do something on research to find out what's working, what they're doing, what data they have.
All right. Find out what those rubber things are all about.
And what the rubber things are about.
And document the traffic, when you count the traffic at Sandy Hook, you're not counting all the traffic. Put that in paper. What's your name?
Ron Aldrich.
Ron Aldrich. Yeah, you wrote a piece of the paper.
Yeah.
You're enjoying it. Now we'll go back to the sawfish. The sawfish is,
Well, since I'm doing that bridge thing, I used to work with the Army Corps of Engineers permitting here in Fort Myers. So I know a lot of the different consultants, and I've been talking with them. And I used to work also with National Fisheries Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Endangered Species Program. And I also did environmental enforcement. Yeah. So the sawfish is on track.
you're volunteering to do protected species, is that?
Well, it's part of the bridge thing, as you were saying.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Not only calls for one very important thing about the building a bridge. The Napa-Shade Pass Aquatic Reserve is, of course, a nature preserve. And in 1998, the citizens of Florida got a constitutional amendment passed, which said that the state government, that is the state executive committee, which is 5 people, an attorney general, governor, finance officer, governor, or 2, cannot take away any nature reserve or environmental sensitive property that's reserved without a majority vote of the 5 people. So that would be an impediment to the short. Now, of course, these 5 people all they were governor, so they couldn't vote for the block. But at least it's a theoretical impediment, at least a legal impediment that's easily resolved, but not without some bad publicity and whatnot. They're taking it away. They're taking away an acre amount of that.
We're gonna round that with the cedars, right?
Yeah, well, that's so far. Okay. Before we just keep going through the list, well, no, let's just stick to the list for a while. Coastal high hazard zone procedures. Now, I frankly don't know what impediment that would do to extending development on Pine Island, but it certainly sounds like it ought to. Somebody needs to go read through all this coastal high hazard zone restrictions and find out if there's any meat in there. Can we actually use them to help save Pine Island? Who wants to volunteer to do that? Just put coastal high hazard zone in the computer and see what falls out.
I'll do that. My name is Sue Donald.
Sue Donald?
Donald.
Sue Donald. Coastal high hazard zone.
D-A-H-O-D.
Absolute thing, those things. FEMA restrictions, same sort of thing. You want to do that at the same time? It's probably probably is the same thing. Okay, that's sea level rise may someday make all of this irrelevant. Who wants to take a shot on paper on sea level rise? That pertains to Pine Island.
Bill, what do you mean by sea level rise? There's a lot of different aspects to it. Some of this work has already been done.
Yes, it does. All you got to do is look at it.
Jim's got some reports out there already.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When I say something like sea level rise, I'm going to allow the project manager to define it themselves and go wherever they want to go on it. We give you one of these project assignments. We're not going to tell you what to do. You're out there. We have a director of research, which is Claudia. If you have trouble figuring out how to do research, call up Claudia. She's there to help you. The project's boss is Carol Crane. She will hopefully keep you from bumping into the other research committee heads and keep things separate and not duplicate work, stuff like that. But we're not gonna look over your shoulder. You're free to go. The sea level rise, figure out what it is you think ought to be pertinent to all of this and right.
I would imagine one of the biggest dangers of sea level rise, besides people going in the water of their property, would be a saltwater incursion into the water supply. And when that happens, what does Pine Island do?
Well, you know, we get our water from a well that's 2 wells are 900 feet deep, so we might be just fine, I don't know. But it's something to think about. And that infrastructure business, maybe we ought to lump water and electricity and all those together into something perfectly. Cover that already? Water and electricity. Yeah, that's all I see on the rise as well. Who wants to take a look at that? I have to just call up the water company and ask them, you know the population of the island, if you have it. This lady real quick.
They can't do our electricity, water,
Claudia?
I think we probably ought to look into sewage too, because if they're gonna increase, residents, we ought to be able to. And I think Marco Island is in the process of, so the cost, that you might be able to find some cost there.
Yeah. Marco Island was 70% sewered already. Our percentage is so low, we don't even look it up. It's a shame that we got to get busy with this. It has nothing to do with, well, we're going to do a final plant, but nothing to do with additional population. we got to do it, the population we got.
I just have a general question about infrastructure. Currently, do developers, are they obligated to improve infrastructure on the island when they do a project, or not?
Well, yeah, but as far as sewer goes, they can set up a package plant, or they can do septic tank. If it's north of the center, there is no central sewer. The only central sewer we have is south of the center.
But there's no rules about what they have to do.
Yeah. When you have to take a development order, yeah, you gotta go down the checklist. Is the water available? What do you plan to do about sewer? Yeah, you got a whole checklist. You got to satisfy the county people. You got a solution.
They won't let you do something anymore.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm just curious about the.
And we're not doing that job for them.
Playing field here.
If it's not available, I mean, it's always available. We have water 95% of the hour. But sewage, we're still on septic tanks for the most part. And we have several package plants as well. That's a terrible situation, but they'll just build more. Right now, if anybody sets up a development north of the center, they will just do a package plant. Package plants are worse, they're actually worse than septic tanks. Because it's concentrated in a big pool, and when there's problems, there's a big problem. Anybody want to, this is kind of a fun one, look at donations to politicians?
Are these donations to buy votes to prevent, my feeling is when Kingdom Ranch or something like that gives somebody a donation, they're looking for support for themselves. So are we talking about bribing? Or are we going to do this to embarrass
I don't think we need to commission anybody to go look for secret bribes. All we need to do is look for the public records that document
Legal bribe. Who's that bribe?
legal bribes. Just look at the donations and see what percentage of them come from developers, development attorneys, and all those sort of things. It's kind of a fun thing. Just come up with a percentage on how much came from regular people and how much came from King Ranch and people like that. Do I have to volunteer for that?
Yeah.
That's it.
We're going to call them vote-seeking boards.
Say your names again.
But Bruce and Maria, let's stop it.
They need two people on that.
I already gave it. Bruce.
Bruce. And Maria?
And Maria. We'll give you the last name, please.
No problem.
I just want to make a comment. There was an excellent article written by Daniel Root. There was an excellent article written about the bribery in state government that's occurring right now with the King Ranch and U.S. Sugar. It was in the Tampa Bay Times. If you read it, it's very recent. I wrote him back. I haven't received an answer, but I wrote him an email telling him that we were a smaller example of that on Pine Island. I wrote him some information about it, hoping he might. He wrote a lot of good information about the types of bribery that are going on in state government, including the King Ranch and all the hunting trips and the helicopter, as well as the money.
If you can lay your hands on that article.
I will. I'll get it for you. Excellent.
Craig Beckman is kind of an old friend of mine.
This is Daniel Ruth. This one.
Over here, as well as water, sewer, electric, we're going to need new roads, and that's going to not be cheap. And we're also going to need new police or security, and that's going to be, we're going to need some lighting, and we've got that in our house. Additional expense is going to come out of our taxes.
That's true.
I feel pretty strongly about water and sewer too, so I was wondering if you'd like some help with those two. Sure, that would be great. It's living back. What's going to help with sewage? And water.
committee has the, budget committee head has the authority to appoint their own helpers. You can expand your committee out as far as you think it needs to go to get the job done. We don't need anybody's approval to do that. But when you do turn in report once in a while, tell her who your committee helpers are so that they get recognition. Her hand was up first.
Are we going to have a fundraising plan? Are we legally set up as a 501 to accept funds? If we need to have like a legal defense fund or money to use?
Thus far, we have not identified any need for any money. I don't really contemplate that we'll be bringing a lawsuit. They're going to hit us next month or a month after with all this, so that's all the time we got ready anyway. We don't really have a basis for a lawsuit either. They haven't done anything, in my view, that you can sue them for. Our problem is political, not legal.
So we don't need money to defend the lawsuit, then?
Not at this point, not at this time. Later, we need to reevaluate that. We'll see how it goes. We'll have to go down the road and ask that question again. But right now, if we need to determine any need for money, probably something like printing the reports you guys have right. But mostly, we'll just put them on the website or Facebook or something anyway. So that's what I'll do. Yes, Claudia.
Is there anybody here that works in a school, especially maybe an administrator, because we need to know what the state standards are for school construction, what the federal guidelines on Florida with special needs students. That's all going to be impacted with the traffic increase and whatever. And if we have to build a new school, what count do they use? How do they determine when new schools are built? I don't know that.
We're probably getting ahead of ourselves on the ultimate impact on whether it's a really strong problem or not here. If we fail with that,
I think they're already violating the federal standards for special needs students in terms of time, 11 o'clock. That's why I'm asking. I don't know what.
I read somewhere that that's the case.
Maybe Claudia wants to do that, school bus.
I don't know Florida, that's why I'm asking if there's somebody here that does Florida. I could do it in Georgia, but not Florida.
Sure.
I think maybe a lot of that goes under the school capacity issue, because it's all kind of interwoven, and so a lot of that would go actually to that. I wouldn't mind doing that.
I agree with you. At this point of the ballgame, what we need to do is emphasize the fact that we don't have the capacity to do all these things. And let it go at that. As far as digging into the whole depths of how it's going to go about being done, that's down the road, if at all.
What's his name? He's volunteering?
No, I don't think it was.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
He was.
And that's capacity of what?
School capacity, and I think the school busing through Matlacha, that's it's correlated.
Yeah. You want to also dig into the delays through Matlacha with school busing?
Give your name, please.
Dan Foote.
We've had at least one breakdown of a school bus with blocked traffic through Matlacha. Might want to get into all of that. Yes, ma'am.
Bill, this kind of goes with the traffic study and his comments. You had mentioned earlier to bring up tonight the traffic in Matlacha issues as they relate to both school bus delays and our regular EMS transport into town when a little boy has a seizure and they're trying to get him off and traffic's jammed up and it's
That's where the paper.
an hour to get into Cape Coral Hospital for him to get somebody's grandson to treatment. If somebody just had a stroke, a heart attack, you can't wait 45 minutes.
When the roof came off the same roof, the entire road was impassable for how long? 2 hours? Something like that.
Is that kind of thing going to be with the traffic study person?
Well, that's a good question.
Or is that going to, is the school bus study going to be with the school bus?
Another of the traffic problem, you evacuated them with a helicopter. You got a bill for the helicopter, $30,000.
I thought it was $8,000 or $10,000. $30,000. Lake County was subsidized. Did we get that covered under somebody's?
Somewhere it needs to match in here, and I think it should be stuff.
Yeah, who's got that covered on their paper? Anybody has covered their paper?
I had a question. I think we could group the police, ambulance, emergency services, and airlift, all together. Isn't that something that needs to be?
Okay.
Safety.
You'll take that?
No, let's take that.
Did Rod say he's gonna do that?
Yeah, I said include that.
Rod said he'd do it.
Okay. I have a request in the traffic department about accidents.
What's not covered?
And for example.
Fire and police.
Oh, there's another, somebody who likes to research laws. There's land plan change procedures and lead plan restrictions and state statutes, data analysis requirements. You can't just write a change to the lead plan and shove it through the system. There's all kinds of state statutes say any change of any kind has to be supported by data and analysis. And it has to be consistent with the entire lead plan. And if it's not, it's supposed to get turned down at the state level, which was the Department of Community Affairs. Unfortunately, Governor Scott got rid of the Department of Community Affairs. And those laws are still on the books. And now they look at it, they still look at it for consistency with state laws. And those laws are still, Liz is wincing, that's not correct?
Well, 925 isn't gone. So there's all sorts of consistency requirements that are changed in the whole process.
Yeah, the process is totally collapsing. But hopefully they'll still have to have data analysis. I mean, there's still statute that says you got to have data analysis, right? Probably don't have to include transportation in it anymore.
Well, you don't have to have conservative currency anymore.
Yeah, you don't even have to have the currency. It's the whole system. Anybody who wants to wait around in that mess for a while is welcome to give it a try. But it is difficult. A lot of the county governments have been told by their council that you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. I know Dr. Ray Collins told our county commission. But it's still something to think about if anybody wants to take a shot at that. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Ever since this has begun, I'm assuming that Pine Island isn't the only one that's more or less under attack by the developers. Sanibel, Estero. I mean, so I'm talking Lee County. I'm not talking any other county.
There's been some big cases recently, River Hall being the main one, I think.
So you're talking liaisons. So, I mean, you got Pine Island, but now all of a sudden, if you can pull in Sanibel, you can pull in. Is there any way we can incorporate all these communities that are probably under attack?
Well, Sanibel is basically built out. It's not a box there. It's a box. Estero is forming their new plan, and setting up a plan. The county don't do it. They seem to be happily moving along. That makes a controversy that I've noticed as well. Lehigh Acres is always, it's wide open spaces, and who knows what's going to happen. Other communities that fall off developers, though, Alma, the River Hall case is the biggest one recently, and the worst one. Their developer set up his development many years ago, built what he was allowed to build, hadn't sold all the lots off yet, but he's got them out there for sale. And he suddenly came in and said, I want another 1,000 houses. So, and they gave it to him. I mean, in the previous case, they negotiated out how much green space and all that sort of stuff, and the roads. It was all negotiated out. Just coming and asking for 1,000 more units to get it, without having to do anything in addition, kind of wild. The commission gave it to them. And everybody connected to that case, and planners all over Lee County, kind of looked at that and say, the end of the land plan in Lee County. Well, so yeah, that one's consistent with what's happening with us in that sense. I don't think there's a lot else going on right now that we can look at. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I was
Liz
going
is
to
a-
say, one of the ways that we can get Sanibel involved, because Sanibel is an incorporated city, so some of these things aren't directly applicable to that. But Sanibel is very focused on the water quality issue. So I was going to volunteer. I was going to volunteer to look into the water quality and the impaired waters issues. And if we can show if there's a change to the Pine Island plan, it's going to negatively impact Matlacha Pass, Pine Island Sound, then you'll get Sanibel interested. Because for Sanibel, it's all about the water.
Well, this is my point. I'm thinking right now, if you had this plan, you tell the developers that day for this. Okay, so they went here, county and others. They
Well, opening Pine Island up to massive development, as she said, one of the biggest issues would be the effect on the water. And somebody needs to do a paper on that. Liz Donnelly will do a paper on that. Thank you, Liz.
Speaking of the water issue, how much help would Ray Jude be willing to give us?
He has always helped us to every degree he can. And he can be helpful in the Liz project. I'm sure he's got a lot of data there. Liz knows Judah very well, and she'll get his resources. Yeah, Judah will probably attend some of these meetings. He's been attending Pine Island Plan meetings since 1988. I inherited all the records in 1993 when I came here, and the first name I recognized was Ray Judah. Carol?
I go along with this thinking some because I think, aren't there 22 land use plans in Lee County? And if we can get everybody stirred up instead of just them being able to pick off one at a time.
Yeah.
And then also, check to see what other counties have done to stave off Fort Harris.
Yeah.
Which would be two separate things.
There's 27 planning sectors in Lee County. We're one of I'm not sure all of them have a land plan at this point. You might be right, 22. I wrote an article for the News Press. They did it as a guest opinion on Sunday a couple months ago, in which I appealed to the rest of the county. I said, what's happening to Pine Island right now, you're next. Because there's nothing unique about us. If they can come after us, they can go after anybody. I didn't get any response, basically. People told me a nice article, but as far as their planning groups contacting and saying they want to work. But somebody here maybe ought to just contact those planning groups. Northwood Myers is one of the best ones. Who wants to take that on? Liaison with other planning groups to include a paper on anything useful that comes out of it.
I'm not volunteering, but there's land in Buckingham, the developers want land in Buckingham, and it just somehow it got taken away from people Buckingham, got given to Lee County for development. And so these other planning people are looking at us, they think, oh, you are all organized out there, we're not. So they're looking at us to see what we do.
Yeah, they are. They're looking. They always have. Pine Island has always been the most progressive plan in Lee County, and probably one of the most progressive in the entire state of Florida. But somebody could take on as a project calling up these other planning groups. My article on the paper didn't get much done, but if you give them a call, tell them you're next, maybe you can get their attention. Anybody want to try for that?
Phil?
10 foot?
Yeah, Dan Fisher.
Yes. What I'd like to do when he finishes his report and your article
40,000 people coming through, so that
Yeah.
people know what's in the
Yeah, work with Dan on
So
that.
go out, I'll be able to get all the information on all the different plans.
Yeah.
Maybe I can find-
Start with North Fort Myers. They're pretty active right now.
Bill,
How do you, how do you think that this is gonna be paid for? With flyers and posters, don't you think there should be some kind of directory stuff? I know you said no before, but you're gonna have ink and paper.
Well, we've done it so far. Rachel Farrow is, she collects, when she gives out posters, she collects money for them, donations for them, she's doing pretty good. The more donations she gets, the more posters she prints.
Yes, we're doing the signs and the bumper stickers for Rachie, and we ask for donations. Basically, the whole goal with that program is that there were a few people who donated the money to start the sign program, and from there it's been self-sustained. And that's what the plan is, but we actually discussed the possibility of some brochures as well, so I'll be glad to work on that project.
Brochures, what do you want to call your brochure?
Publicity or media,
Something fundamental to this is, and I haven't seen a definitive answer, how many platted, buildable lots are there on the island today that don't have a home on them? And that's the added traffic and ties into the 910 rule. Is that number known?
6,700.
Buildable.
Yeah, not entirely. We have 6,700 vacant residential lots on Pine Island that, on paper, you could build a house on. In actuality, an awful lot of them are not buildable. An awful lot of them go back to the Florida land scams of the 1960s or 1950s or whatever. It's $10 a month, and $10 down and $10 a month and all that sort of stuff. And about a lot of them are 40 feet wide, which is almost impossible to build a modern day house on.
Well, that's a powerful number, because if you multiply that by 925, that's the added traffic to what we have now.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not a defensible number because they're not really buildable, that's what we need to
Well,
know.
we don't know how many are buildable. You can buy two contiguous lots to build a house, certainly. Or if you want to build a very skinny house, you can do that. A lot of them are back in the Brazilian pepper and whatnot. There's not a real road going to them. Although, if you look at a map of Pine Island, you'll see all kind of roads up there at the northeast quadrant that don't actually exist. And don't trust your GPS. The GPS is basically counting tax. It'll have you turning left into a tree. But nonetheless, we did use that 67. I'll plug it to you. We did use that 6,700 number when we wrote the Pine Island plan to great advantage. And the fact is, if even a percentage of those houses were built, we don't have the capacity to get through Matlacha as it is. So and this is the kind of stuff that you write to justify a very stringent set of procedures for additional development. And that's what we did the last time. And it was justifiable. It made sense. And we have a shiny brochure called Data Analysis Pine Island Plan, which I wish I had a copy of here. It might be on Tim's website. Is it the brochure Data Analysis?
Yeah, I could do that.
Is it?
What was the question?
I'm
ordinary like you, Phil.
The 2003 or so Pine Island Plan Data and Analysis.
It's all there, yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you want to read about the Pine Island Plan, reading the plan itself is hard. I mean, it's kind of for lawyers and planning specialists and whatnot. But if you want to read something that makes sense and really educate you, read that Data and Analysis pamphlet on Tim's website. It gives all the reasoning behind all this.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the kind of
really
thing we were just talking
something
about.
to read, it really is. It's something to read, it really is.
We put a lot of work into that, a lot of work. That's how you defend plans. But it's hard to get pamphlets like that into a courtroom as evidence, and that's not what's happening. We had justification for what we did, good justification and well-reasoned, and really nailed it down. But when it comes time to go to court, it's very, very hard in the court procedures to make those kind of arguments out. Yes, sir. Anna, so.
Refresh my memory, Phil, when the plan was approved last time, we got an award for it. Do we have that in writing, and who gave that to us?
It was the state planning something, an association of state planners. They gave us an award for the Pine Island plan, which is very unusual. Skowski and Barbara Dubin, who was the head of the planning committee at the time, went to someplace, Tallahassee or someplace, to get the award. And it's, I don't know where it is right now. Yeah, it was. I inherited all the files for all of this, but nobody gave me an award. I guess they kept that for themselves, I suppose.
How many of these lots actually already have permitted? Like
The 6,700?
Yeah.
No, they're just vacant lots.
Well, no.
But they're.
Like behind us on Pine Island Cove, that the mobile home thing on the RV park got shot down. Supposedly he has permits to build on those lots.
Yes, he does.
No, he's pursuing.
Behind Pine Island Village, yeah. Beside us in the cove.
He is pursuing a development order which would allow him to build single-family homes.
Right, it's been okay.
He's got to have, once he gets the development order approved, then you go for building permits. But first you have to have a development order.
But how many of those are out there that have already?
That would be in addition to the 6,700 we already have.
In addition to that.
The reason he can get that easily right now is because he has a development order in effect already, which allows him to build 450 units there. But that's his little quadrangle. That was the. Not the Newton's College, but Newton's College is the same thing. That's another 480. So whatever he builds now will be much less density than what he's already got approved.
Let's talk about what? Government the village? About townhouses and condos and
When I called about, because he started to do a little bit of activity.
Oh, yeah.
And I called downtown and I talked to, I can't remember the name, the guy that worked with us originally. And he said that he went back to his original development order, which is single-family homes, and he's going to build 147 single-family homes back there. He has the okay for that. He went from, originally, they, in the late 90s, they asked for a development order for the condos. For the multi-family condos.
Yeah.
And then he decided against that, he wanted to build the RV park. Well, then, when that got shot down, he sat on it for a while, and now he went back and asked to go back to the original development order, which was single-family homes, and now he's planning on doing 147 single-family homes.
Every once in a while, I don't know if there's a reason for that. Every once in a while, they move the dirt around.
Yeah, because the county says that if you have a development order, to maintain it under the grandfather act, you have to do something each year to show that you are.
That's correct. And they have since 1982. They have done some work out there every year. We went to court on it a little while back, saying you didn't do any work this year. And it turned out he put a pipe underground, which we couldn't see. But that's, the existing development order is 400 and some condos. And he would rather do a single-family residence, 130 or something like that. And he's pursuing that right now.
How many acres is it? 70.
Yeah, something like that. All right, yes, sir.
Yeah, Bill, I got an idea. We'll set up a fund, and the money can be contributed to the fund at the website, and we can buy buy some radio time and run huge commercials. Strictly for radio. Strictly for radio.
How about, I don't want to jump into that, but maybe somebody ought to do a study and come back here to this group with laying out the pros and cons of doing that. Who wants to do that? Anybody volunteers to do that? No? Okay. Yeah, before you get away, folks, we also need the names of the people who want to be members of the planning committee, which as far as I'm concerned ought to be everybody here. You passed around a sign-in sheet when you came in. Let's do it this way. Does everybody who signed in want to be on the planning committee? She will give you something to sign. Is there? We try another approach. Among those people who signed in on the sign-in sheet, is there anybody who doesn't want to be on the planning committee? You want to take your name off? Okay. Would you? Okay. No. You be both. The planning committee is everybody. And the only thing the planning committee does is speak right here. So, is there anybody who signed the sheet who does not want to be on the planning committee? Nobody. Okay. The sign-in sheet is the planning committee, Renee.
I'm waiting for the rest of us to sign up.
I've got it here.
Can we talk about Burr-Harris Layman?
Yeah. Well, right now.
Can you give us Claudia Brindle's phone number and email address so as we go forward we can...
Claudia, announce your...
It's not Brindle, it's Bringe. B-R-I-N-G-E. I know all variations of that name. I'm kind of used to it. But, all right, phone number 678-464-5601.
Repeat that?
678-464-5601. And email is B, and then my last name, Bringe, B-R-I-N-G-E, at Comcast.net. B, Bringe, at Comcast.net. R-I-N-G-E, like the electric company, G-E.
We will list on the website the names, telephone numbers, and email addresses of everybody who, all of the officers. And should we list all the, I know we should list the project committees and their chairman. Is it okay to list your phone number and email address as well? Anybody object to that? Okay. Don't forget to tell her all that information. And people want to talk about Burr-Harris, I know. We'll get to that right now. Yes, sir.
So to talk about, I'd like to work on a committee to do a public records request, try to tie the DOCC and the Burr-Harris claimants.
Excellent suggestion. And we talked about that earlier. Scott Wilkerson?
Yes.
Yeah. Scott Wilkerson wants to be head of a committee to do information, Freedom, Sunshine Act request.
Well, it's part of, public records request. Also, the Sunshine Law, I'd like to have out of that because I don't understand from a little bit of research why they can have all these hearings and work on the plan and seek. To me, that should be an open public hearing.
I'll tell you how they're justifying it. They're calling it court preparation.
No, it's not court preparation. They're doing a plan.
Yeah, I know they're writing a plan. Bear in mind, it's the county attorney's office writing the plan, but the two planners they hired. The planning department over in Lee County, who has at one time had 450 employees, most of them planners. So you've got hundreds of employees sitting over there whose job it is to write plans and administer land plans, and they hired two people off the street to do the same thing. Well, they hired the attorney for 10, but to defend the case, who actually works on the other side, but that's another story. People want to talk about Burr-Harris.
Yeah.
I can go into it in any kind of detail you want, but I think the first thing we need is people to do some research on the bird heritage cases, these 51 or 59 or whatever the hell they are. There is a document out there, and it's actually in my file somewhere, but I can't find it. I have a lot of papers like that. You've all seen the one-page listing of bird heritage claimants, but there's actually a little package of documents that has one page for each claimant. And a bunch of data, not a lot of data, but it's in big lettering, but it exists. If somebody can drudge that up, it ought to be on the website. It's not so far, it is. No, it's not. Somebody needs to drudge that up, as well as do research on the 51 claimants themselves. Who are these people? Where's the property located? When did they buy it? All that sort of stuff. Who wants to work on that?
List of 51.
I took this list of 51 last week and went to the Lee County Property Appraiser's office, her website. I looked up all 51 of them. I only found 3 listed under these 51 names. So I don't know what to do. I printed the 3 I found, but I don't know where the other 47 are.
When I came to Pine Island in 1993, you could look up any parcel on the island. It would be in the name of the guy who owned it. As for palm farms and such, almost none of them are in the name of the guy who owned it. An awful lot of them, all you're going to find is his attorney's office. But others are under various names which may or may not be registered in the state of Florida. It's a nice research project. Who wants to take it up? I think you were first.
I'm volunteering Nicole Deschamps, who works for the Beacon of Hope, and she's with the Pine Island Playhouse. She said she looked up all the bird heritage claimants, and that they were all big companies. She got a list of them. She said she posted it on Pine Island Process. We're not going to be able to find it, but
There's almost all the names of corporations, but there's small corporations, and that property is probably the only thing else.
You need to know.
But they're very hard to trace.
You need to know when the property was bought, correct? Right? You need to know where the property is located, right? You need to know if there is a development plan in place for that property.
That information's there on the website, and there's links that'll put you straight there.
Okay, how can I do that and just look at what you got and see where we are with it?
There's a link, and you can click on it. And let me tell you the very specific way to search it through Google. You put the name Pine Island, and then search that, and you'll see you keep looking through the links, and you'll see it.
You guys do that all the time.
Okay.
My name's Joan.
It's all there. It's all there.
But Jones Clay just volunteered to head a committee on the research of Pine Island bird heritage claimants.
Can I just ask a general question? We all now are forming these liaisons in anticipation of the plan coming out in about a month. So we really want a top-line research done, hopefully in anticipation of the issues that are going to come out on the plan. Is that correct? So that whatever we're doing here, that hopefully our research may be able to refute in some way what is being presented in the plan. So once we have the plan, we will then probably have to delve further into research in anticipation of the hearings. That's how you anticipate this rolling out. Are you anticipating us having all this information together by a particular date? Or are you going to announce when?
Some of these projects are small, some of them are really big. Just do the best you can. Get help from your friends. Point them to your committee and coordinate with the project's boss, which is Gerald.
If anybody wasn't selected, if you're interested still in any of these different things, email me. Because maybe, some of these, like looking at 51 plus 8 is a lot.
Yeah.
So what's your email?
follow-up to that, though, is if there's a time window where we have to have information before the opportunity is lost, is there any kind of an expected timeline for the next steps?
No.
Is the hearing point where
We really have no idea when they're going to come at us with some changes. The latest thing they said was early June, but I don't believe that.
So will there be public hearings on that?
Oh, yeah. The first thing they will do with the plan they come up with is bring it out here to run it by Pine Islanders. And you can almost guarantee they won't bring it to our planning committee. They will organize their own Pine Islanders. And they'll make sure all the developers are there. I've already seen the thing.
Bill, can you set a date that you would like us all to have at least, as much data put together as possible in anticipation of the plan?
All right.
I think that, having a more structured type of thing would be good
Okay.
for
All right.
everybody.
Let's go for a month. A month from now, we'll have at least the first draft of the paper. Would that be okay?
And it's all to go to Carol? Is that the research?
Carol, yeah.
I'm sorry, who is it to go to?
Give me a first draft to Carol. It could be a first draft. We don't comment on it. Try again.
Carol needs to announce her email address or something.
Is Popo Perez here?
I'm known as Caesar or Corporal Perez, and I would like a committee for a time-honored flag, if possible. I'm pretty loud. Okay, so we're making this here. I think a flag will unite Thailand. Bill means combination for the fight. A flag will unite Thailand, but the ribbon is not united. Okay, so unite the island, give it to Phil, knock yourself out. You'll have ammunition for the fight. I need volunteers. I'm doing this alone. Maybe I'll have help from Facebook, but very little. So I got a sign-in sheet. Please sign in. Or sign in with Phil, sign in wherever you want. I have it right here. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
No, don't bring it to me. Popo, is it okay if we make you head of a committee?
Please.
Find out the flag committee.
Get your email.
And he's soliciting stuff, so give it back to him. Don't give it to me. Yes, ma'am.
Well, the kids on Pine Island, they went to the north,
Let's start over.
they're doing community service, and I bet you that they would like to do that kind of thing. And the kids are scared of Pine Island. We've been meeting all over there.
Are you going to do a group mailing of everybody's name?
I think we can do everything by email. I mean, everybody here seems to have email. So,
This office list that we are putting out here, our names and so forth, you're going to send that.
it's going to be on the website. The minutes of the meeting will be on the website. The names of all the committees and their chiefs will be on the website. Everything will be on the website.